My name's Kirstin Lund, and I have formal training as a lawyer, but 20 years ago I left the practice of law and started a company where I was mediating, teaching conflict resolution, and facilitating collaboration. So before I decided to look into the idea of doing online training, I had been training at the university here for about 20 years and doing some training in my business as well. But early on, what I tried to do is when I would get a call to do training, I would refer it to the university because I was working with a group of colleagues that was collaborating to develop this center. I wanted to support the center. And so what I was doing essentially was teaching people not to call me about training. So when the founding director of the center decided to retire, things changed. And I would say that from maybe 8 years ago or so, where probably 30% or more of my income came from training, I started to see a decline in the training that we were doing at the university, and that wasn't getting made up by calls that I was getting because I had trained people to not call me about training. So when I started to see that writing on the wall, I decided I wanted to look at ways that I could develop my own training opportunities again and not rely on someone else to send them my way. And when I decided to enroll in Course Builders Laboratory, I would say I had gone from maybe training being 30–35% of my income to maybe 10%. I remember the first video that I had seen of Danny, and he was wearing a dress shirt and talking about how that wasn't him and it wasn't really comfortable for him to be wearing a dress shirt. And he paused the video, came back with a t-shirt, and talked about how that was more him. And I really liked that because he made the correlation between that shirt and authentic marketing. And I like the kind of marketing that Mirasee does. I liked that it wasn't high pressure, and it just felt really authentic to me, and that's the way that I want to sell as well. I also really liked what Danny said about the shift that was happening from information online to education online, because I am an experiential educator. I like to engage my students, and up until that point, I myself hadn't actually taken much online training, if any. I had not ever paid for online training. And so the idea of doing training online, I was always skeptical that it actually could be engaging. And so hearing Danny's philosophy on that, I think that's what made me hit buy now. I think that the changes that I have made since enrolling in Course Builders Laboratory has been maybe having a better sense of what it could be. I think when I started, I really thought, oh, I'm just going to put on some little course and maybe it would be some small part of my income. I'm used to training being no more than 30% of my income. So I sort of saw it as a bit of a side business. And one of the things that's changed for me, I think, is recognizing that this doesn't have to be a side business. It doesn't have to be limited to 30% of my income. And in fact, it could be something that I could really grow. I come from a small place. We have 145,000 people that live in my province in Canada. And I think in some ways it teaches you to think a bit small, because we don't have access to all sorts of customers. And one of the things that has happened for me in Course Builders Laboratory is just seeing all the people that are engaged in the course and engaging with them and making friends with them and seeing that, even though I knew this before, there's a whole world out there, and I think it's expanded my thoughts in terms of what this business could be. I had a pretty good sense of the offer that I wanted to make before I started taking Course Builders Laboratory. I knew that I wanted it to be obviously connected to conflict resolution and collaboration. And in fact, I even had a name for my training, collaborationschool.com. What changed when I went through the Course Builders Lab modules was that it really helped me to, I think, pinpoint the exact offer. I think I had a very broad idea. I definitely had a very broad idea of what I wanted to teach, and doing the research that the modules led me through really helped me to hone that down. One of the challenges that I knew that I would have right from the beginning was time. I have more than one business, and within each business I have a number of projects that I'm working on. So when I saw 10 to 15 hours was what was suggested in order to launch your pilot within 60 days, I knew that that wasn't going to be feasible for me, but I made a decision that I was just going to go for it anyway, and I would do what I could. And so what I did do was I picked at it. You know, I tried to do maybe an hour, hour and a half each week, and some weeks I didn't have time to do any. Some weeks maybe I had a couple of hours, but I don't think that there were any weeks that I spent more than 2 to 3 hours. And one of the things that I think was a real benefit to me in spreading it out so much was that I was picking at it, and along the way, as I picked at it, I was sharing my progress with my friends, you know, on Facebook or at meetings or at a party, and people were really curious about what I was doing. So taking that time actually created an opportunity, I think, for me to build my audience. So that challenge ended up being, I think, a real opportunity. Because I was excited about it, even though maybe I wasn't spending a whole lot of time on it, I was sharing information about it with friends. And I don't have a list. I still don't have a list. My website is really just my course offer for the pilot. And so my list, or my people, were Facebook. And so I would share information on Facebook about how I was doing. And I was doing it in a way that wasn't very selly, you know, because I had nothing to sell at that point. And so people were responding, I think, more easily because they weren't scared that I was going to attack them and say, hey, buy my course. And so that was very helpful. One of the things that I really liked about that was that when I was ready to launch my pilot, I think it sold out in 2 weeks. So I said I was going to take 15, and I ended up selling 15 in 2 weeks, and then actually having 2 people come to me after the deadline, after it was sold out. They knew it was sold out. Someone came to my house with an envelope full of cash and insisted that I had to add her to the course. So I ended up having 17. And I think that that is a direct result of the time that I took to engage with people and respond to the problem language that they were sharing with me. I really liked the way that the course was set up. I was very engaged. I have not taken online training before, except for the odd free webinar or the odd free edX course that I never finished. And I found myself highly engaged. I loved the way that they set up the lessons and the homework sheets, that you could submit them right away to your coach, and you got an email within a day from your coach with some feedback that I found really encouraging and pushed me forward to want to do the next lesson. I think that I would say I'm excited about the free opportunities as well. There's all these little bonuses that Mirasee just throws out. You don't even know that they're coming. You know, there's webinars, there's guest speakers, there's a free boot camp that's happening right now. And those are things that I didn't expect, but they're really adding to my experience. I think that Mirasee really wants to see people succeed. And I really believe that they're doing this because they want to support people to put good stuff out into the world. And I feel supported. I don't feel as though they are just happy that I sent them my money. I think that they truly want to see me succeed. And I feel that in the support that I get on the Mastermind Facebook group. I feel it in the support, the very prompt support that I get from my coach. I feel it in the support that I get from any query that I send to Mirasee. It's an automatic response, and people seem genuinely invested in my success and really excited when I share my success.